You know, when looking at the most useless franchises in baseball, the least well run organizations that can't ever seem to make decisions that lead to anything positive, the Marlins might be number one. It is insane how much they do things just to have it explode right in front of their faces anytime it looks like they have something going for them. It ends up in disaster, and it will forever be fascinating that this team has two championships on accident, basically. But they haven't been able to stumble upon another one in more than 2 decades since their last, rightfully so. It's evened itself out. And before the 2024 season, I made a video about the most wasted talent in baseball. I talked about Sixto Sanchez, a pitcher the Marlins have had for several years now, that once looked promising, only to basically go missing on the injured list for 3 years, and with him finally looking to begin the year with the Marlins after all these years of nothing, that didn't even look good, considering he looked way out of shape and was throwing a lot slower than he used to. I mean, Sixto was supposed to be a guy for the Marlins. He hadn't been, and even when healthy, he was looking like a complete waste. And a number of people told me I was wrong on this. Told me I was wrong for doubting him when he's just been dealing with injuries, and he's going to come out and finally do what was expected of him to do 3 years earlier. And, well, we're at a point now where I can officially say that I was 100% correct. He was a complete waste. But it's not only him, and that's where you get into the Marlins organization as a whole and how much they've whiffed on certain opportunities. One of the most notable times for the Marlins was when they had and then traded several really good hitters. They had Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, and JT Realmuto, all on one frickin' team. That's some talented hitting. But they had no pitching. And after the new ownership group took over, the team decided to do a fire sale and trade all of those guys. And looking back, out of those 4 different star players that they traded away, there is only one player, or 2, that they got back that's been worth it. 2. That's it. The Marlins traded away Giancarlo Stanton basically just to get rid of his contract. They did not prioritize getting any serious talent back at all. And all these years later, yeah, it shows. The players they got for Stanton were Starlin Castro, who lasted a total of 2 years in Miami as a serviceable player before joining the Nationals and then being investigated into for domestic violence. That's bad. That's a no-no. And he hasn't played since 2021. He's retired, basically. The second player they got was Jorge Guzman, a dude who went on to pitch a total of 2 2/3 innings for the Marlins and give up 8 runs. That's it. That's all he did, and he's currently in the Giants organization doing a lot of nothing. The third player they got was Jose Devers, Rafael Devers' little brother, who went on to get designated for assignment twice before electing free agency, so he's no longer with the team. The worst part of all this? The trade returns for Christian Yelich and JT Realmuto were worse. At least with the Stanton deal, you could understand that they were just trading him to get rid of the contract, so again, any talent in return wasn't prioritized. But Christian Yelich and JT Realmuto were not at all guys on big contracts at the time, so those were the guys to get some serious talent for, and they whiffed. The Marlins' 4 players in exchange for Christian Yelich, all 4 are no longer on the team. Every single one of them were just not good and eventually designated for assignment. Every one of them. So the Ozuna trade is the one that they got something valuable back in, as they sent him to the Cardinals for 4 players, one of them being Sandy Alcantara. They got another good pitcher, Zach Gallen, but traded him in 2019 to the D-backs, which is how they got Jazz Chisholm. So the Ozuna trade basically resulted in Alcantara and Jazz, so we'll give them those 2. Obviously, they're very good players. Alcantara won a Cy Young Award, and Chaz is no longer on the team, but he was good when he was there. And the other 2 they got in the Cardinals trade didn't do anything. As for the JT Realmuto trade that sent him to the Phillies, the Marlins got 3 players. Jorge Alfaro, who they eventually traded, Will Stewart, who never made it to the big leagues. That sounds like a fake name. And last and certainly least, Sixto Sanchez. Okay, that was mean, but it was funny. Anyway, Sanchez was the guy in that trade for the Marlins. In his last year in the Phillies organization in 2018, Sanchez was their number 1 prospect. Numero uno. That means nobody was ranked higher for the Phillies. And as for all of baseball, there are different rankings for different sites, but he was ranked as low as the number 13th prospect in all of baseball. He was getting those comparisons to Pedro Martinez, just like any young, hard-throwing Dominican pitcher does. But this was a very promising guy to get if you're the Marlins, obviously. And he'd come up to the big leagues for the first time in 2020, showed promise, and then he he didn't pitch for 3 years. After eventually getting surgery for a tear in his right shoulder, he didn't pitch a single game at any level in 2021, and then the same for 2022, not a single appearance at any level, recovering from his surgery before getting another surgery for his shoulder, going on to appear in one AA rehab inning in 2023. One inning. So after he made his debut in 2020, Sanchez had thrown just one inning over 3 years. And finally, for the 2024 season, Sixto was back. He was in the mix, put up a nice little spring training, and was announced as making the Marlins opening day roster. It was announced by the manager, Skip Schumacher, and within a couple of months, I would say Marlins fans, but let's face it, most aren't paying attention in a year like 2024, especially where they suck. But Schumacher became Sixto's biggest hater. Not literally, I don't think he hated the guy, but he would, no, I think he hated the guy. Bro did not play politics when it came to Sixto Sanchez. Schumacher would basically just straight up say, like, yeah, this dude sucks. So Sixto was pitching against the Mets, starting the game against the Mets, and could not have been much worse. He immediately gave up 4 runs in the first inning, walked 2, gave up 6 hits. The Marlins lost this game 7-3, and afterwards Schumacher did not hold back.
I don't know, but that's unacceptable in the first inning. So if he wants to start at this level, he's going to have to be better in the first inning. It's just what it is. We had a heart-to-heart underneath, and so did Stott. It was better, obviously, the second through the fourth inning, but he's put us in a hole early, and this level, it's tough to come back from 4 runs every single time, and it's not giving his teammates a chance to win.
2 starts later, the Marlins were back at home taking on the Rangers, and this time Sixto was actually pretty good. Well, at least on paper he was, and for his standards. He only went 4 innings but gave up just 2 runs, so that's improvement. And this also happened to come in a game the Marlins won. So what did Skip have to say about the outing afterward? That son of a bitch got lucky. He still sucks. I cannot wait to have him out of here, but at this point, I may be out before him. Okay, he didn't say that exactly, but he called him lucky. That's not a lie. Even in an outing that for Sanchez's standards was an improvement, Skip was like, nah, this dude still sucks.
Skip a strong start for Sixto. What was different for him?
I don't know if it was different. I think he was fortunate, honestly. I think there was a lot of hard contact. There wasn't much swing and miss. Got some double play balls, which was good. We got to figure out what's going on, honestly, with the velo. It doesn't feel like it's coming out. And I know he went 4 1/3 or whatever it was, and a run or 2 runs, but it just doesn't look like it's coming out like it should. Yeah, I think we just got to go back to the drawing board and see exactly what we can do to keep helping him out. I just felt like from the get-go it was 87 miles an hour again. And it's okay if it's 87 if he's used to throwing like 89 to 90, but when you have flashing 95, 96 and then you are throwing 87, I just want to make sure everything's okay. And he's not, trying to get through something that and just being upfront with us is all. So I think we got to talk to him, figure out exactly what's going on. Just didn't look sharp.
And as the prophecy foretold, neither of these guys are Marlins anymore. Skip would step down as the manager to get a better opportunity elsewhere, but also decided to take a break for a year. I know obviously it's not just Sanchez, but for the sake of the joke, I'm just gonna say that Sixto Sanchez led Skip Schumacher to be like, yeah, screw this, I'm taking a year off. I'm losing hair and I don't even have hair. Ironically, this start where Schumacher called him lucky was the last time he'd pitch all year. That was it. He was soon after put on the injured list with right shoulder inflammation, never to be seen again until he was sent to AAA after the season. So basically the team was like, you're a AAA guy right now, don't really have strong plans of you being on the team next year, and Sanchez in response to that had the opportunity to elect free agency and leave the Marlins entirely, to which he did. And so that ends the 6-year saga that was the Marlins and Sixto Sanchez, a guy who had so much high hopes, only to throw a total of 74 innings across 5 seasons. Bro went from the top prospect for the Phillies to the top most hated player by Skip Schumacher on the Marlins. Baseball, man. Cruel, cruel sport. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.